Guys, today I want to talk about George Springer. George Springer in 2025, he shouldn't be playing as well as he has. It's been an absolute resurgence of a career, in a sense, for George Springer this season. He was coming off of one of his worst seasons as a pro, going into his age 35 season. I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of optimism that George Springer was going to kind of get back to the production that he was putting up pretty much for the majority of his career. I, for one, have always been a fan of George Springer, even during his days in Houston, albeit with all the controversy surrounding that team, the World Series, and all that. George Springer, I just enjoyed watching him play. I think he's a great ball player. I still enjoy watching him play. He probably gets bonus points because he's from the Northeast originally, growing up in Connecticut. The season he's having for the Toronto Blue Jays, it's not only impressive in itself that George Springer has been producing the way he has been this year, but it's the fact that he's contributing to winning baseball for the Blue Jays, who have been somewhat a surprise in some people's eyes for being the top team in the AL East at the moment. So I want to take this opportunity to talk about George Springer and talk about his 2025. If you guys do enjoy the content you guys see, we would love any and all support you guys can give us. Like the video and share it around with your friends. Subscribe. Showing you guys the support allows us to continue making great quality content like this, as well as go check us out on VendettaSportsMedia.com to stay up to date with all your favorite sports. We would love for you guys to stick around because we're truly building something great here, and we'd love for you guys to be a part of it. Before I can talk about George Springer in the present, I want to kind of go back in time a little bit and talk about his days in Houston. George Springer spanned 7 seasons from 2014 to 2020, donning the Houston Astros uniform. That core of Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, and of course including Springer, that helped aid that team to become the AL West powerhouse it still remains today. Multiple ALCS appearances. They have made it to the World Series a couple times during Springer's tenure there, ultimately winning the 2017 World Series. Springer broke into the league in 2014. He had himself a couple of good seasons as a young player for the Houston Astros, but 2016 truly being his first breakout season. Played all 162 games, hit 29 home runs, batted .261 with a 815 OPS and a 125 OPS plus. I also wanted to mention that George Springer in his 7-year career with the Astros never had a season with an OPS plus under 114. The following season, the Houston Astros make it to the World Series and win, with George Springer being the World Series MVP. He had a crazy slash line, 5 home runs in that series. I think that was the record. I think it still is the record for most home runs hit in a single World Series. That World Series, he was just an absolute man on a mission for sure. He had a career season in 2017 following his breakout in 2016, hitting a career high 34 home runs, matching a career high in doubles with 29, a career high in RBIs. He batted .283 with an 889 OPS and a 141 OPS plus. It was his first of 3 All-Star appearances for the Astros, as well as his first Silver Slugger, and he finished top 13 in MVP voting that year as well. His true career best season was in 2019, and keep in mind, in only 122 games, batted .292, hit 39 home runs with 96 RBIs, with a OPS plus a career high 974 and a OPS plus of 150. His third and final All-Star appearance for the Astros, as well as he finished 7th in MVP voting and got his second career Silver Slugger. Obviously, the Astros will go on to lose in the World Series to the Nationals that year. George Springer, for the Astros, the majority of his career, he was an unconventional leadoff guy for the Astros. And it was more, since I say unconventional, because he was more kind of like the Kyle Schwarber type, not necessarily, and I'm not comparing these guys as players, I'm just talking about the fact that you have a guy who can absolutely rake, batting out the top of the lineup, not necessarily someone who's just going to get on base and try to steal bases for you, which was something Springer still definitely did. He still tried to steal bags. He even led the league in caught stealing in 2016, but he was someone who was absolutely crushing baseballs out of the leadoff spot, and he was somebody who set the table. In total, his 7 years in Houston, he accrued 27.9 WAR. He was good for 25 home runs and 65 RBIs a season, with a career OPS in Houston at 131. Ends up signing a multi-year deal with the Blue Jays. In 2021, he was solid, but he only played 78 games. In 2022, he was an All-Star once again, and that was easily the best season he had with Toronto. He batted .267 with 25 home runs, 76 RBIs, and 14 stolen bases, OPS plus of 132. In his age 32 season, where he accrued 4.2 WAR, which is the most since his 2019 season. In 2023, he had another solid season. He was a 2020 guy for the first time in his career, but he accrued an OPS of 102, which was the lowest mark in his entire career to that point. But you were more trying to give him a break. He was a 33-year-old outfielder who was still producing with the bat, something that he definitely was with Toronto, he was durable, especially through those first couple of seasons outside of his 78 game season where he still was really productive. 2024, it was the lowest point of his career from a production standpoint. He still added value, having 19 home runs and drove in 56. He had career worst in terms of his slash line. His batting average was 220 with an OPS plus of 91. It was just career low marks for any season he had where he played more than 120 games. Coming off of his age 34 season in 2024, many would assume that was really just him starting to lose the battle with father time. That's the thing. Father time in baseball affects players differently, and it comes for them at different points in their career, because you have people like Nelson Cruz who can play up until they're 40 and still be productive all the way up until, well, more or less their last season, when they kind of just fall off a cliff in a sense. Some people get hit with that fall off rapidly, and they're out of the league season or two once they kind of showed signs. And it seemed like in 2024 that was starting to be what the reality was for someone like George Springer. But then 2025 comes around. George Springer in 2025, as of the time of recording, is batting 291 with an 889 OPS, which is top 10 in MLB. He has 18 homers and 57 RBIs through 101 games, which is nearly surpassing the benchmark he set for himself last year. He has a 144 OPS plus, which is the highest of his career since his career best 2019 season. I think something that was a big help for George Springer is the fact that the Blue Jays have had him primarily be their DH, whilst having him still see some time in right field. And I think it's for the best, especially going into the age 35 season. When guys are on contracts and they're kind of in it for the long haul, even though they're in their mid-30s, the best thing, and this is going to happen to everybody, it's going to happen to Aaron Judge, it's going to happen to Juan Soto, and a lot of the good players that are on super long-term contracts compared to George Springer, who has a couple more years left on his deal, but more or less I think this might be his last contract he signs in MLB. But regardless, this is going to go for any player that's on significant money. They're going to find their way to be DH if they still be productive. If you can take away the risk of injury and take away the responsibility of having to have the glove in your hand, George Springer is focusing on hitting and focusing on being a productive offensive player. The Blue Jays really reap the benefits of that. He's been contributing to winning. July, he won AL Player of the Week, where he batted .429 with 5 homers and 13 RBIs. Had a 7 RBI day for Canada Day, and I believe he also hit a grand slam. Albeit, just like many like Juan Soto and Seiya Suzuki in the National League and the American League, I feel George Springer definitely got snubbed of an all-star appearance. George Springer's been playing so well that opposing pitchers are trying to kill him with the baseball. It's obviously a joke, but he did take a baseball to the head, and he's been on the concussion protocol. This has been one of George Springer's best seasons in quite a while, and by a wide margin. He's spearheading a great Toronto Blue Jays team with his resurgence. Vladdy's still being Vladdy, and they're getting great production of guys in all facets of this team. I feel like it starts with that Blue Jays offense spearheaded by Springer, Vladimir Guerrero, Bo Bichette, who's having a comeback season in his own right. I feel like Toronto's destined for another playoff berth once again. Hopefully, for their sake, they can get out of the opening rounds of the playoffs to truly see what this team is made of. But regardless of how the Blue Jays season ends this year, one thing is for certain: if Springer can maintain health throughout the rest of the season, I feel like he's going to be primed for another 20 home run, 20 stolen base season. I hope this is a way for him to truly maintain himself going into his mid to late 30s. Without a doubt, an absolute great season on the part of George Springer, and he's really revitalized his career. He's going to have his best season since 2019. I hope he continues to play well even till the day he retires. While he may not be a Hall of Famer, he's definitely a figure to remember during the time he's played from the mid-2010s all the way up to now. Especially this season, he's been one of the better hitters in baseball for a very good Toronto Blue Jays team. But you guys let me know your thoughts and how you guys feel about the Toronto Blue Jays and George Springer's season. Overall, you think this is something he'll be able to keep up even throughout the rest of this season? Because I know Toronto is absolutely going to need it, every bit of it, for the rest of the year. If you guys have any player suggestions of players who are having sneaky good seasons or having great comeback seasons or anything like that, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below. Maybe they can make their way into a future video. I'm excited to see how this 2025 season ends for George Springer. There's still 2 months left of the season to go. So like the video, share it around to your friends, subscribe to Vendetta Media. Would love for you guys to stick around as we're building something really special. I'd love for you guys to be a part of it. And to make sure to check out VendettaSportsMedia.com to stay up to date with all your favorite sports. That's going to do it for me, guys, and I'll catch you all next time.